Okay, this is Harry Potter ranting about wizards part 2. The Mary Sue problem. Which is, well, first of all, what is a Mary Sue? This has kind of become like the buzzword of the internet, right now. Because a lot of people are starting to notice, especially with the rise of fan fiction, and this is something you see a lot of with, much more amateur writers, who don't quite, haven't quite fully developed their, skill of how you develop, a character and, have a plot going on with them. Because what you need to have happen is that when a character, you do need to give your character strengths, and you do need to give them weaknesses, and then you have to give them a plot that's at the very least challenging to them. You can make them, as strong as you want and as many fields as you want. But if what's going on in your story is not a challenge to them, then why are we bothering to watch or read or whatever medium is being used? The easiest example I can think of is like a video game that's too easy. You just kind of sleepwalk through it and la-di-da. I've beaten this giant Goomba. It would be like if Mario, the only thing that he had to worry about was Goombas. You just simple stomp attack, and that's all. That would not be a very fun game. Whereas if you added Bowser and other things, then you start building complexity. You start actually having something worthy of trying to attack your hero, and then that is how you start building challenges. And so how do you take down a giant lizard with a spike shell that breathes fire? Well, is there a star that makes you invincible? Okay, that helps. So just using that as kind of like a base example, where most people go wrong is that they either make their hero, too strong so that the challenge isn't enough. I mean, a normal challenge is just, no longer, enough. Or they have the challenge not be challenging, they have the challenge of the plot play directly to their strengths, which, I could certainly see how, I've certainly had that problem, trying to write stories and doing that. And I could certainly see how that happens, because, that's why you're giving them this, these good qualities to begin with, is to be able to do something like that. So I do see how, that could happen, with a character. But to bring this back to, what a Mary Sue is specifically, and why it's so bad and such a toxic thing, is because really when you get down to most storytelling, it's so that we can relate to, the protagonist, and kind of use them as a surrogate to, for their challenges and, lifelong learning, and be able to grow, from, their experience, and then be able to adapt it into our lives. So if you have a character that, isn't really challenged, doesn't really grow, doesn't really learn, that's why it's such a, terrible thing in literature. And that's, at least one of the major reasons that I did not like Harry Potter, at all. And then I realized that it was mostly just the Philosopher's Stone that I didn't like. So let me, try to see if I could break it down of why Harry Potter is such a terrible protagonist in book 1. I mean, first of all, when he starts off, he literally doesn't do anything for most of the book. It starts off that he's a very put upon, 10-year-old. They make him sleep in a closet, which, I'll get into my headcanon section of, is that really such a bad thing? But anyway, so they make him sleep in a closet, they make him cook them food, Dudley gets all the advantages. And so clearly, early on, what J.K. Rowling felt like she was trying to aim for was kind of like a almost male Cinderella, kind of archetype, going into it, which, okay, I could buy into that. But then, Harry doesn't really, struggle or, try to take control of the situation at all. He doesn't try to run away. He doesn't, try to get teachers or, any kind of authority figure involved of his, alleged mistreatment. He doesn't even, even do petty things like, try to sabotage, the household. So it's hard for me to relate to that because he just doesn't do anything. If the situation with the Dursleys is so terrible as they're making it out to be, why doesn't he try to do anything to help his situation? So that's, kind of problem one, and I understand he's 10, he doesn't understand all the, options he may or may not have had. I kind of get that. Okay, I'm not, I'll go with it for right now. And then that's when the letters to Hogwarts start appearing. Okay, so there's now possibly a way out, but Uncle Vernon is stopping it at every turn. Which I'm going to talk more about in part 3 of what this all is. But then basically he gets drugged to the ends of the earth, with Uncle Vernon to avoid this, and then just magically out of nowhere, his, fairy godmother, to take it back to Cinderella, appears as literally his half-giant, defender of good, who, smites all his enemies. He breaks Uncle Vernon's gun, he curses Dudley with a pig's tail, he, breaks down the door, and won't take no for an answer, from any of the authority figures in Harry Potter's life, and will set all the rights that's gone wrong, right there, right now, bam. Okay. But Harry Potter didn't do anything. He didn't even have to convince Hagrid to do it. Hagrid just did it because he wanted to. And okay, so now everything is right in Harry Potter's life. His enemies have been defeated, and he's been given a way out of a bad situation. Okay, you know what? It's still the start of the book. All right, let's roll with that. Let's go to the magical world, and then we find out that and you're also rich. Yep, that's right. Your parents left you a ton of money. There you go. Hallelujah. What? Okay, so his enemies are defeated. He's been delivered from the bad situation. And he's rich. Okay. Well, it's not like everybody loves him or anything. Oh, right, they all love him because his parents were war heroes. Which, okay. He didn't actually do anything. At all. And yet every wizard loves him. He's now a rock star. Alright, so he has a giant defeat his enemies, delivered from the bad situation he didn't like, rich, and a rock star. Okay. Alright. I kind of see how that might be a little wish fulfillment. It's certainly the start of a character, I guess. He'll probably be humbled. He's probably going to have to be humbled before the end of this book. So, alright, we're at the beginning. And, okay, let's try to keep this going. And so, alright, Hagrid has to go do his own thing, so Harry Potter's alone on the Hogwarts Express. Okay, now let's see if all those other things can add to him, and no, he just makes 2 friends right off the bat just because he's Harry Potter. Just cause. He sits next to Ron and Hermione, and now they're friends forever. Just cause. Just cause. I don't know if I'm just particularly an asshole or if I'm just have a bad soul or something, but if I sit next to 2 people on a train, I don't immediately start a lifelong friendship. I don't. How come Harry Potter gets to do that? How come he gets to just instantly make awesome friends just cause? Okay, alright. I understand it's fiction, and you can't have him sitting alone the whole time. You would need someone to dialogue with. Okay, let's keep going, even though now he has friends he made incredibly easily. All his enemies in his life have been defeated by somebody else, on a whim for him. He's been delivered from all the bad things, he's been delivered physically from all the physical situations of his life. Everyone in the Wizarding World loves him, and he's rich. Okay, well, at least he's not a sports star. I mean, at least he has that much of a flaw, right? I mean, it's not like he's going to just show up in a sport he's never seen because he's lived with Muggles his whole life, and it's not like he's going to instantly be good at the only sport, right? Right? Fuck. That's right. On top of already 5 really, really cheap ways to try to make your hero sound good, he's also a sports star of a game he's never seen. Really? Really? He's flown literally once in his life, and they want to put him on the team. I could see maybe he's like the backup player. I could see that. I mean, I could honestly see him, trying to be recruited. Maybe, have him, definitely, join the team of some form of, he's the backup seeker, maybe, or something. But he's just, and not only that, not only is he magically, the one of the best players, in Quidditch in the school, just cause he doesn't even have to try out for it, which really puts a bird in my saddle. I mean, I lived in a very small mountain town. We had tiny schools, and we'd have to travel really far to even get to another school to have a competition. And we had tryouts at that age for 6th grade basketball. And Harry Potter doesn't even have to try out. There's literally... Okay, seriously. You want me to believe that year they weren't going to field a team. They were just going to have 6 people and be like, well, we don't have enough people. We forfeit. If Harry Potter didn't show up. Okay, that would have been option 1. Or, which is completely unexplainable and bizarre and strange. Or option 2, why doesn't Harry Potter just do a tryout? Why is there literally nobody else to try to compete with Harry for that very small spot? And even just trying out, and even if he just wins automatically, that's such a much better story. Because at least he had to overcome something. He did. Not Hagrid, not Hermione giving him the answers to the test, not anything else. But no, that's not the Philosopher's Stone. That is... In fact, Harry Potter never has to even try out. Ron does, but not Harry Potter, because he's just too magical. I mean, seriously. The worst trouble he gets into is 1 detention in the entire year. Ooh, 1. And that was for illegally smuggling dragons. A very dangerous creature that's very illegal. And all he gets is a detention out of that. I mean, how is Harry not like the biggest, most ego-ridden son of a bitch ever? My head would explode with, like 2 of those things. Well, 1 of those, and I'd be a happy person. 2 of those, and I'd be king of the world. He's got like 6 giant things going for him. How is this... I almost feel bad for Draco, who, all he has is the money. I mean, he literally has like 5 major things that he doesn't have compared to Harry. I feel more sympathy for him in book 1. I mean, all of a sudden, there's this kid who's never done anything, and everybody loves him, as opposed to Draco, who's lived in the magical world, knows all the people, knows it as being completely upstaged by just some guy cuss. This is not a good book. This is just... How do you like Harry Potter? How do you like this person? And... and this is what's gonna launch 8 movies? This guy? This is gonna be... He's gonna revolutionize the publishing industry? This guy? How? Why? Why does he get everything? I hate him. He's a terrible human being. Fuck Harry Potter. Not only that, but it really stands out a lot more because, and I understand it's it's book 1, so everybody couldn't be developed yet. But like Ron, ironically enough, is a little more rounded in this one because while he's completely stupid, he at least has interest, which is chess. Oddly enough, it's not Quidditch, even though he has visions of wanting the Gryffindor Cup in the mirror, but which is telling and underutilized, in my opinion. Hermione is completely, Hermione, was an okay start. They brought her in there just to pretty much be a device of here's how Harry Potter will get all his smarts, and he has to learn a small lesson about being around socially awkward people. But they didn't really do a very good job of Hermione and getting, at least through to me, why she's so driven, which a little bit of it is just an innate character, but a lot of it is that she felt very insecure because she was a Muggle-born, and so she had to, drive herself so hard because, at least this is the headcanon I went with, because she felt so insecure being in this, whole new world of the magical world, which at least I didn't get until book 2, which again is just a much better book. Hagrid. I don't know if you realize this, but Hagrid's not that smart. And that's pretty much all we get of Hagrid. He, in the beginning of the book, smites all the enemies of Harry Potter for him, and then is easily tricked throughout the rest of the book, both by Harry Potter, which, is mean to trick your friends, and then, and even by the villain. So, Hagrid comes off as flat. Dumbledore's barely in the book, which let me just question that now. Why is there so little Dumbledore? All we really get is, info. This is another major sin of storytelling, because with Dumbledore, we're really just, for the most part, informed about what he is and what he can do. We barely see it. We barely see that much of the genius. He's... And that's only really book 5 is about the only time we really see Dumbledore in any kind of action. Which, it is in good service, most of the rest of the time. But in book 1, it just comes off as glaring because there's so little interaction with him, and yet he's treated like, God sitting on Mount, on high, and it's just like, what is this person? What is this character? There's so little Dumbledore. I don't even know why they bothered including him, except to, at the end, kind of ratchet up the danger of he's now not here to protect the thing, which really is all his function in the book. And then, he helps explain the mirror in the middle of the book, and then he does the wrap up at the end. That's it. That's all he does. And it was such a terrible launch of this character, because you want to be shown, at least in film school, the motto was show not tell, and all we get of Dumbledore is telling. Granted, in book 7 that's much more justified, but through books 1 through 6, for the most part, we're just told about Dumbledore. We don't get to see him, except for, bits of part 5. We don't ever actually get to see Dumbledore in action, which is really a major flaw in the series, in my opinion, because we don't really get a measure of what a full wizard is and can do, and so what is Harry Potter aspiring towards? What is he working towards? What is the end goal? And we don't get, and at least I certainly don't get that from Philosopher's Stone, and I have a hard time grasping that for the entire series. Because Voldemort seems a lot more powerful, the whole way through. Those are, a lot of the major reasons why I did not like this book. It has a lot of flaws. It has a lot of things you shouldn't do in storytelling. And yet, it became so great. And, I'll admit, a part of it is jealousy. J.K. Rowling got away with a lot of cheats that I wish I could. That I wish I could have people suspend their disbelief this much about just the fundamentals of storytelling. It doesn't even have to relate to the setting or any of the things. Why Harry Potter get everything all the time. I mean seriously. And so, that's most of the reasons why I didn't like the book. In fact, well, that's not even all the reasons I didn't like the book. There's so little Dumbledore, so I don't... Too little Dumbledore, Harry Potter's a Mary Sue. We don't get the everybody seems very flat in the book. There's definitely some logic problems with the first one, which I'm going to go into more depth in book 3. There's a lot of weirdness for weirdness' sake that I'll get into for part 3. Chocolate frog, no, I'm not going to get started. I just did not like this book. Which is a shame because it gets so much better. And it's such a disservice to everybody. To Harry Potter fans, to literature in general. I wish there was like a special edition where J.K. Rowling would go back, now that she's so much better writer, and just fix and rewrite book 1 and make it feel like the rest of the series. That would be one of my personal dreams. I know she'll never do it, and it's probably smart that she doesn't. But it doesn't even feel like Harry Potter for me starts with Chamber of Secrets. Honestly. I understand why the publishers, didn't want to publish it. It's because, I see now why 15 publishers turned it down. It's not a well-written book. She becomes a much better writer later. She's a fantastic writer later. But this one is just bad in so many ways. And I'll get into more of that in part 3. Thank you.